Welcome to Resilience in Dark Times. I'm your companion and guide, Michael Glavin. If you're feeling overwhelmed by political upheaval and environmental crisis, you're in the right place. This podcast is for everyone who refuses to normalize injustice or ignore planetary emergencies. Together, we'll transform anxiety into action and build the emotional resilience we need to keep fighting. Let's begin. Our world is broken, politically and ecologically. But you know this. You know what's going on, and you know it's not good. Politically, you see the rise of authoritarianism, and you see our democratic institutions faltering. You see the capitulation based on fear or greed, and you see the intimidation, the corruption, and the cruelty of this regime. And you fear where this is all headed. And ecologically, you see the mega hurricanes, the wildfires and floods, the deadly heat waves, and you know that these so-called extreme weather events are not random or haphazard. You know they're the direct result of global warming, and you know this will all only get worse unless something is done. You feel anger, sadness, fear, rage. Sometimes you feel helpless and powerless to stop it, and you try to block it out and go about your day, but it's always there. A constant source of stress. I'm here to tell you that your feelings are normal. Sadness, fear, anger, these are all valid responses to a world in crisis. You're not broken. The world is broken. You are feeling what you should be feeling in this messed up world. And I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. I feel the same way. I care deeply about what is happening in the world, both politically and ecologically. And I care what this is doing to all of us emotionally. How can we cope in a world that feels so broken? That is a huge question, an important question, and we need to answer that question. But even that doesn't in itself feel like enough. Yes, we need to cope, but that doesn't address the underlying problem. Even if we make ourselves temporarily feel better, the overwhelming political and ecological problems are still there. So we also need to address the question, how can we come together, take action, and set things right? How can we successfully resist authoritarianism and restore the planet? I believe that these two questions are deeply intertwined. We can't fully solve the first question without solving the second. How do we cope in a world that feels broken? And how do we successfully resist authoritarianism and restore the planet? I wanted someone to answer these questions for me. I looked for articles, I searched YouTube, I looked for podcasts, but I didn't see anyone addressing these issues in any way that was sufficient. Yes, people are talking about this bit or that bit, mostly talking about the news of the day, the crisis of the day, or individual resilience. But there's no holistic discussion that brings together what is happening on a large scale politically and ecologically with what is happening to us emotionally. We need to look at the political and ecological realities of this historical moment and the psychological impact that this is having on us so that we can process our feelings adequately and take effective action towards social justice and ecological sustainability. That is why I started Resilience in Dark Times. Resilience in Dark Times is a free podcast for all of us to come together, support each other, and light a path forward to a better future. A future where people are free to be themselves, a future where people have the basic necessities of life and are treated with respect and dignity. A future where we can create the conditions where the natural world can flourish once again. So who am I? I am Michael Glavin. Like you, I care deeply about our planet and all of its people and creatures. And what is happening politically and ecologically is horrifying to me. I need to do something. I need to speak out. I need to use my privilege to speak out and take action. As a straight white male and a U.S. citizen, I am less vulnerable than a lot of people being targeted right now. And I feel an obligation to do something, to say something. I need to try to do what I can to fight for a world that values democracy, equality, and ecology. Professionally, I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I help individuals overcome anxiety and depression. I help people work through trauma. I also help couples learn to communicate and work together to create a mutually beneficial relationship where each individual can thrive. I love the work that I do. I love helping couples and individuals transform their lives. I love this work so much that I opened a counseling center, Deeper Connections Counseling, here in Illinois. At my center, I train and supervise other therapists and help them to help even more people transform their lives. But I'll tell you what, over the last year or so, especially in the last few months, I've noticed a dramatic shift in my clients. Their pain is no longer solely personal pain. More and more people are feeling distressed and under threat because of the political and ecological situation we find ourselves in. I can help them each individually, and I do, but the threat is not individual, it is collective. We are all under threat with the rise of authoritarianism and the ecological crisis. Yes, some of us are more vulnerable right now, but ultimately all of us are under threat. We need to recognize that our distress is not just individual distress, it is collective. Before I went into psychology and focused on helping people on a one-to-one basis, I spent many years in social movements trying to create a more just and ecological society. Ultimately, I'm not sure how successful we were, but we were trying to be part of a legacy of social movements that were successful. The women's movement, the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, the labor movement, these are all collective responses to a shared affliction. Yes, people were suffering individually, which needed to be addressed on an individual level, but those people understood that their healing, part of the resilience, was in their collective response. They needed to change the conditions that gave rise to their suffering. This is our current situation. Because we are under threat collectively, we need to respond collectively. We need to come together to support each other and take action. We need to resist authoritarianism and work to restore the planet. The question is, how do we do that without burning out? How do we stay informed without feeling overwhelmed? How do we transform overwhelm into action? How do we take care of ourselves and each other and take concrete steps to improve our society and restore the planet? These are some of the questions that we will address in Resilience in Dark Times. Rather than covering the news of the day, the crisis du jour, we will take a step back and look at the whole picture. In each episode, I will draw from my training in psychology, philosophy, and political theory, and my background in social activism to help you become more and more resilient. We will share evidence-based techniques to help you process your emotions so that you feel better. We'll help you tune into your feelings and help you take action that is in alignment with your values and appropriate to your current situation. We'll look at different philosophies, mythologies, and folktales and spiritual traditions that have helped people thrive in difficult times in the past. We'll have Know Your Enemy episodes. We'll have on political experts to help us understand what's happening at the macro level. We'll talk to political activists and discuss strategy. We'll talk to psychologists, artists, and spiritual leaders to discuss the best practices to cultivate resilience. So what do you say? Are you ready to be part of a growing community? If we're going to make it through this, if we're going to be successful and defeat authoritarianism and restore the planet, we'll need everyone. We'll need you. And we need all of you. We need your heartache. We need your love and your passion. We need your fears and your hope. We need your voice, your talent, your humor. Come and join us. Together we can light our way through any darkness. Just go to resiliencindarktimes.com and subscribe. Once you subscribe, you'll be alerted whenever a new episode comes out, which should be every Tuesday, I hope. And you'll receive our awesome resilience newsletter with all sorts of information to help you cultivate your own resilience practices. Or you can subscribe to Resilience in Dark Times anywhere you get your podcasts. I can't wait to have you part of our community at Resilience in Dark Times. Subscribe now.